Our unit was on patrol at the edge of the forest, at a low elevation on the other side of the settlement. In front of us were wide meadows that gave us a wide view during the day and a good sector of fire for our machine gun, which we had set up on the edge of a gully under the spreading branches of a mighty beech tree. The foliage of the tree, which reached down to the ground, almost completely concealed us from view. Our patrol had a telephone connection with the company command post, and our job was to work with the other patrols in the area to secure the battalion from surprise attack. The soldiers of our squad, free from duty, slept in 2 tents well camouflaged behind our post. Before darkness fell, we still had time to orient ourselves on the terrain and establish communication with other sentries. When it began to get dark, everything was quiet and calm, but when it got dark, we heard the sounds of battle from behind a ridge of hills, clearly protruding against the light night sky. It was the first combat patrol in our life during the war, a responsible combat task. The order required to secure the area and to detain persons who appeared near our post at night, and to guard them until they were handed over to a higher authority. The persons who did not stop after the threefold command, "Stop!" were allowed to open fire. Even in the early evening, we all sat together at the machine gun nest, discussing all sorts of cases. From the firing point to the tents, we laid the simplest signaling system. The squad duty officer tied a rope to his arm that led from the tent to the machine gun position, and if there was a situation where he was needed, the sentry would pull the rope and call the duty officer to him. I had the third watch shift at the machine gun, that is, from 22 to 24 at night and from 4 to 6 in the morning. The first 2 hours of my shift were turbulent. From the other side of the hill, in absolute silence, the wind carried well-defined shouts of commands. But was anyone prepared for the enemy's sudden sortie that night? Then it became clear to me that so far, except for night marches, we had had no night classes. We had been playing war all the time during the day. When I was brought up for my second duty at the machine gun, the men on shift told me that they heard a distinct but not approaching noise from the woods somewhere to our left. I thoughtfully inserted the tape into the receiver so that I could be ready to fire at once. I pulled the bolt handle twice and the first cartridge went into the chamber. The glowing night sky turned pale. In the lowlands and the meadows in front of us there was now a thick fog. The hitherto well-distinguished chain of hills on the horizon, which had allowed us to see the outline of every alien body against its background, was completely gone. There was something ghostly about these noiseless waves of fog at night. Branches snapped from the trees with a loud cracking sound, making one suspect that someone else's boot had stepped on them. Leaves fell from the trees with a sound that during the day was heard as a quiet rustle, but now caused alarm. The fox slipped through the undergrowth, and we held our breath. Our job is to keep watch and protect our comrades from a surprise attack. If our colleagues on the other side have prepared something, we on patrol must spot it to warn our comrades. Sometimes in the shroud of fog I saw images, the outlines of which were impossible to determine what they were. I thought I heard footsteps. But whether they were footsteps or not I could not tell. Maybe they were sneaking up on us, or preparing, or maybe I was imagining it. The third number, who had meanwhile taken a place to the left of the machine gun, elbowed me in the side and stared into the darkness. There, on the right, they're already at the edge of the forest. The second number of the squad pulled the signal rope with all his might. In the tent behind us, the squad leader, who had been pulled out of a deep sleep, cried out in fright. Barely visible shadows crept toward us within throwing distance of the hand grenade and lurked, having heard the noise we had made. My partner stretched his arm forward, pointing in the direction. Damn it, then I wasn't wrong when I thought I heard footsteps. Just ahead of us, clearly visible bodies ducked against the light fog. I must act. And I must act quickly. In the next second the thrown hand grenades could throw us out of the hollow and the tents. Without pausing I shouted into the night darkness, "Stop, who is coming?" the password. But there was no response. Quiet waiting, so it's an attack on the post. Fire. and then the dark clouds of mist immediately came to life in front of us. Bodies ready to rush forward were hit by my deadly line. The fire from the barrel blinded me, the trace of bullets, scattering sparks, hit the ground or went over the horizon. I made an arc to the right to the forest edge. It seemed to me that this was where the enemies were closest. And then back to the left edge of the meadow. The tape had run out. With trembling hands, the second number of the squad handed me the filling end of a new ribbon. 1, 2, the bolt handle clicked, just as it had been repeated 1,000 times during the training day and night. The cartridge was in the chamber and ready to fire. I was extremely excited and stared intensely into the darkness in readiness to fire again. A vigorous shout from the squad leader made me stop firing. There was a bang in front of us, and then it became terribly quiet. Only up at the edge of the meadow some shouts were heard at regular intervals. Before we could get the company on the alert, the telephone rang in the tent. Our squad leader reported the incident and asked to send a reconnaissance party. After a while, scouts appeared from the side of the valley. After their commander urged me not to shoot the soldiers in the back, they cautiously went forward in pitch darkness. When dawn broke, the sentinel returned. The result was as surprising as it was depressing. Killed and wounded roe deer lay all over the meadow. 2 professional hunters from our company were assigned the task of tracking down the wounded animals that had gotten away and finishing them off. In the morning I was called for a report and got a terrible beating. At night I had to shout 3 times, "Stop, password," and then the game would have a chance to escape. But taking into account the difficult situation, except for this reprimand, I did not receive any other penalties for my erroneous actions. The incident was not reported to the higher command, but the battalion received an addition to the table in the form of red game, which successfully replaced the fashionable herring. However, I ate this game not without remorse.